What's going on, everyone? I'm Jaren, and today we are talking about Monkey Man. This story follows an anonymous young man who unleashes a campaign of vengeance against the corrupt leaders who murdered his mother and continue to systematically victimize the poor and powerless. When the trailer first dropped for this movie, I was describing it as the Indian John Wick, but I was wrong. It was much more deeper than that, much more richer, more in the veins of Tony Jaa's earlier films like Ong Bak or The Protector. Dev Patel has praised his love for the action genre, saying that Asian cinema such as the Bruce Lee films, I Saw the Devil, Old Boy, The Raid, and many others have inspired him to become an action hero of some sorts, and if being in front of the camera wasn't enough, a lot of the stories that he grew up with was something that he wanted to translate to the screen himself. Sharing a few words from my best friend slash fellow critic Aaron Medeiros, begin quote, "If you had told me that this was Dev Patel's first directorial movie, you could have fooled me," end quote. Having worked alongside co-star Sharlto Copley and director Neil Blomkamp, Dev Patel has been working on this script for Monkey Man for about 8 years, and then he approached Blomkamp if he'd consider in directing it. Blomkamp responded that no one knew the story better than he did, so he encouraged Patel to go out there and bring this vision to life on his own terms. Originally, Netflix bought the rights to the film and wasn't planning to release it. Then Jordan Peele saw the movie, acquired the rights through his production company called Monkey Paw, which was coincidentally funny. And here we are, Monkey Man on the big screen. After getting a chance to finally check it out, it was a wild, gritty, bone-shattering, and engrossing cinematic knockout. Now, the structure isn't anything original. This is a revenge film, an underdog film that really drives the same beats and similar tropes to some of the best action thrillers that we adore. What Patel does differently is how he infuses the Indian culture visually, practically, and parallels the legend of Monkey Man into the goals and journey of our protagonist. There is so much love for this passion project that Patel breathes life into everything that is put on display here. Starting off with the cinematography, it's rough around the edges as we get shades of handheld camera work with the fight sequences and the way that they are framing the underbelly and poverty side of the city. Once our protagonist gets a promotion at his new job, he is surrounded by deep-pocketed and high-class clientele that you can see a lot of the framework becomes more refined, a lot more glamorized. And as both worlds collide, you get to see some shaky cam, a few one-take shots, which really shows you how raw and vicious that things can begin to escalate emotionally and within the plot. Other than the banger music choices and the decadent production design, the costume designs were magnificent, especially with the spiritual group that aids our protagonist, and the way that they show up in the third act and the way that they are framed was just incredible. Just the utmost respect for just the details that went into it, all under a small budget. I also wanted to bring up the lighting, especially the way they play off different color shades and schemes of red, black, tannish orange, and even purple, especially with that one shot where Dev emerges from the elevator, which is also the poster. That was one of my favorite shots in the movie. Let's talk about Dev Patel as an actor, because he physically got in shape for this movie. First, I saw him in Slumdog Millionaire. I knew that this kid had potential to be more than a one-hit Oscar contender. Apparently, he was training in Taekwondo since he was at the age of 10 and then earned a black belt at the age of 16. And although our nameless protagonist is not your typical cookie cutter factory product of an action hero, he is definitely one to display his mortality. He's a man with little words, but there is so much behind his eyes that you could sympathize with. You can feel the pain that he feels. And when we get to the second act, where he's transitioning from becoming a revenger to an avenger, you champion his journey because he's learning that there is more to the fight than just for himself. Dev Patel behind the camera, he's the lead actor, he's the writer, producer, and the director. That is a tremendous amount of responsibility and creative control, especially for your first movie. Him and his team underwent many challenges, including him wanting to shoot in India, but the pandemic pulled the plug on that, and in 2021 they were able to get the rest of the shots in Indonesia, most of it. And then there was financing issues, which really restrained a lot of extras to get involved. So really, a lot of the behind the scenes people, they were the extras in this movie. And because Patel did his own stunt work, he sustained a broken hand slash wrist, 2 broken toes, a torn shoulder, and an eye infection. Especially when we get towards the third act of the movie, they had to carefully choreograph and craft everything out because he was still physically performing and directing under the worst and critical conditions. As I said before, this movie wasn't perfect. A lot of people going in to expect a non-stop balls to the wall, shoot 'em up event are going to feel a little underwhelmed. I mean, the first 30 to 40 minutes is somewhat suspenseful, especially when they're building out the path for Patel to exact his revenge, especially on this one antagonist. And then after the 2 big action set pieces, the movie comes to a complete halt, and then we get to unpack a lot of the kids' trauma and introduce a group that aids our protagonist. It adds a lot more meat on the bones in terms of story, but it might drag for the adrenaline junkies. But then we get to the third act, and it's fully highlighted in the trailers, and if I'm going to be honest, that's either going to be pleasing for you, or it's not going to be as much as you were hoping for. There were some side characters that weren't fully fleshed out, and by the end of the movie, they didn't have too much of an arc to close out by, but I can look past it because they were pretty much there to humanize our hero. Otherwise, with the suit, the monkey mask, and the relentless violence, we might as well have been following Michael Myers in this narrative. The one aspect that might make or break the audience is these political and religious commentaries that are slightly sprinkled throughout the film. It is not that heavy-handed, but I can see why Netflix was in hot water at releasing this in the first place. Overall, this was a primal, provocative, and pulse-pounding vision that is fuming with rage and soul. Dev Patel is more than just an emotional powerhouse. He's a tour de force filmmaker that is hungering with talent. I am just very curious to see what other ranges he could reach behind the camera. Personally, I would love to see what he could possibly do with horror. Alright, that's all I got to say about that movie. I'm probably going to go check it out for the 3rd time this week, so that really tells you how much I enjoyed it. In the meantime, thank you guys again so much for watching. Look forward to more reviews. I'm Jaren Banawag, and I'll see you guys at the theater. Take care. 1, 2, 3.